you guys out there. How yous doing? I hope you're having a great Wednesday. We made it. I'm starting a little bit early, 9:27. You guys out there. How yous doing? I hope you're having a sound doesn't sound the sound sounds good. I've been playing with the gain on my microphone, getting a lot less of that humming sound, so that's good. Learning, always learning, guys. How is out there today? Let me make sure I have my YouTube live chat viewer, so I don't see anyone talking just yet. So anyway, this is Amy Lee. This is part 4. I'm having a lot of fun painting her, and right now we're getting into the point where we start really turning the forms and really start getting the lightness and the contrast and all of that. So that's very exciting, and I think you guys are going to love it. So let's go ahead and see if we can begin just getting warmed up. Remember, you guys and girls who are with me know that when I get warmed up, I always get warmed up with the light mixture. So I have my light mixture from my Airbrush India inks, as you can see here. And the light mixture is where you do your sketching, or where you come in pretty cold, so to speak. When you start working, you haven't worked on the painting a couple of days. Going with the light mixture, a lot less, how do you say, a lot less, crucial decisions. You can be a little looser, you can erase, so you're just getting warmed up. Like using a HB pencil or something like that. Look at it that way. That will really help. So right now, I'm going to get my reference. I really recommend a program called Pure Ref. If you guys know of Pure Ref, it's really fantastic. So now what I have to do is try and find, where did I put that program? Here it is. Okay, great. So I have Amy Lee here. Let me make it a little bit lighter. There we go. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to start turning the forms. And how am I going to do that is really pay attention to the little modeling of the light as it goes towards and away from the subject. Okay? John, how you doing? It's good to see you. How's everything? So John's the first one today to go ahead and comment. So good to see you, John. I started a little bit early today. Nothing too crazy. Just put a little more light on the subject there. And perhaps my glasses. Okay, let me clean my glasses. Because nothing worse than having spots on your glasses. Am I right, John? That's for sure. So yeah, so this is Amy Lee. I think we're going to have this week and maybe one more week, and we should be fine. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the tripod away from the table, because when I shake the table you can see that the camera moves, and that just kills the enhanced feeling that you get from my live streams. So I think I can do that. Look at that. Just shift it just a tad. So there we go. Let's see. Just a little bit, guys. Just one moment. It'll be worth it. Let's see if that helps a little bit. Okay, did a little crazy thing with the angle, but we'll work on that as well. Go and zoom out a little bit. There we go. I think that's pretty good. wonderful people joining us when I was messing with that tripod. Good to see you guys. So cool. And so it's good to see you, Mike and Steve, Raul, and Wendy, and so cool, John. Thanks so much for joining me today on this sunny Wednesday evening here in the Burbank studios of Painted Glyphs. So let's see. So I will go with the light mixture, and we're going to continue with that. And let's see here. Okay, so right now I'm just looking for a light modeling of the forms. Just very lightly. What I like to do is as I go, erase, because I want to get these shapes correctly. Oh, Mike has got 2 Badger airbrushes. Fantastic. Which one did you get, my friend? That's exciting. And let's see. I'll just put her over here. So I'm really happy for you, Mike. That's great. I'm always happy when I get new airbrushes. Very exciting. So right now I want to model what's happening here on her cheek. Remember, things are getting lighter and darker. For what reason? The reason they're getting lighter and darker is because they're turning towards and away from the light. So that's what we're working on. Thank you, Wendy. So we're watching things go towards the light and go away from the light. And that's what we're paying attention to. Objects within the forms, if they're facing the light, the more they're facing the light, the brighter they'll be. And that's what we're really trying to pay attention to. Thank you so much. I didn't add any pastel to the lips. This is all, this is pretty much all ink. So that's cool. Same thing here. This is ink as well. So no white pastel yet, but that's coming. I didn't really do anything since last week, which is, you know, I know that's a long time, but I have so many other projects that I really don't have time to work on this as well. But right now, what we're doing is we're turning these forms here. We're making sure that that lip turns. Over here. So when you see a value come out over here, you have to realize it's not an arbitrary value, but it's because this part of the face is turning away from the light, and that's why it's slightly darker. So still with the light mixture. Remember those light bright things we had? And hey, Willie, how's it going? Good to see you. Remember those light bright things we seen in when we were kids? Remember that? You know, you can make things with light. And I was thinking about that. I always wanted one, but I never got one. You know, it's one you wonder why you never got certain toys. But I remember other kids had them, and I was like so fascinated. But now I realize that we are painting with light, aren't we? We are. Hey, Brad, good to see you. So the sound is a bit low, huh? So I just have to raise the gain. Look at this, guys. Pow! How's that? Better? Ask me. Let me know if that's better. I raised the gain. Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I have this pretty sophisticated uh, microphone, so I am just playing with the controls lately, trying to get a little less distortion. You know how it is. Okay, cool, cool. All right, so looking at this, I'm saying to myself, okay, so always looking at angles at all times, not just in the beginning. I'm always looking at angles. And I can say to myself, where is this angle exactly what I want? And I could say no. So I could see I was slightly off with this angle. That's the beauty of the India inks when you get really further along, is that they're very erasable way down the line. And I like this little change that I made because it does make a difference. Now, I'm going to come with my medium mixture. Remember, I have the 2 airbrush system going. So right now, guys, I really recommend you ordering from USAAirBrushSupply.com because my code timothypsa now is 15% off your whole order. So isn't that the coolest thing? 15%. So here it is. I'm going to put it. Timothy PSA. Not bad. Wow, Linux is cool. I heard great things about that. And the website, thanks Mike, and the website is www.usaairbrushsupply.com. And that's your friends and mine over at Badger in Chicago, Illinois. They'll take good care of you. So if you need any kind of needles, nozzles, air valves, all that stuff you can get from those guys. So Ken went ahead and we have new, I want to thank Ken, I have new needles and nozzles, so the airbrushes are working on all cylinders, so I'm excited about that. So back with the light mixture, and actually this is the light mixture. Let's go to medium mixture, and let's work on this area right here. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic, Mike. Yeah, it's a very generous code, so I appreciate that, Ken over at Badger gave us that really nice 15% off, so I'm taking advantage of it. There we go. So Amy Lynn is pretty amazing, I think, so I'm so happy to paint her. And so let's just continue. I have the medium mixture, and it's just a little bit darker towards the center part of her eye. I don't want to go over where I just painted, because if I erase where it's wet, it's going to be a disaster. And I know through experience. Been there, done that. But I really like when we do pay attention to the light, her essence, her character does come out. So let's just make sure that we are really just paying attention to form, not worrying about whether it looks like Amy just yet. There we go. Oh yes, isn't this the best, Steve? And you know, I use it so much, I have a couple of refills. You know, I go through a refill about every 2 weeks. Crazy. But yeah, Steve, those are fantastic. I agree. Also, I'm going to shape the eyelash a little bit. It comes out just a little bit more. Mike said he had to contact Badger on his birthday order, missing wrench and finger rests, all warped and unusable. Okay, they'll take care of you. How long did you write them, sir? I know they were having trouble with the finger rests. There was like a mishap in the packing of a lot of the Badgers. Oh my goodness, wow. That's tight, my friend. And so what we're doing is we're just going to continue turning this form here. I want you to think just what's going towards the light and what's going away from the light. And that's what we're doing here. Oh, to another department, I see. Okay. So as I get light, I want to keep it smooth, right? So, okay, the volume's still a little bit low. How about this? Pow! There we go. That should do it. And what we are going to do, and I do have a volume button back here, so I'll raise the volume and I'll lower the gain a little bit so we don't have distortion, and ask me if that's better. So we're just going to continue to turn the form here. Very important. Okay, so the gain does have an important thing, so there we go. Now we have the gain. We should be perfect right now. I'm just playing with the mic. I just want to know exactly, just like with the airbrush, you know, you gotta screw up a little bit to get it perfect. Right here we have it light, but see, the light's hitting at this corner of her cheek, but then it goes the other plane, which is the front part of her cheek, is slowly turning away from the light. Just like that. Go. Now we have a variety of erasers, and I like to try the kneaded eraser first and see how that goes. We all do, Mike, that's for sure. We all mess up. But that's what, those who bounce back up like we do, those are the ones that really learn and excel. And you want to be one of them, which I know you are. See how we're creating that turning of the form there? We're not just painting what we see, but we're trying to understand what we are seeing. And I think that's the difference. And right here by her nostril, we're going to watch and see where things start to turn away from the light very gradually, and not evenly either. Because all the shapes on her nose and her cheek and everything like that, they're irregular. So they're going to have irregular light and shadow patterns. And shadow is just a relative absence of light. So, anything that's in shadow is just not getting the most, you're not getting a degree of light. And let's look at it that way. Hey, Chris, how you doing? How's everything, sir? So glad to see you, my friend. I might have to adjust this part of the eye. I know in this late stage I'm making adjustments, but that happens so often, We're still people. We're not going to always get it right the first time. And that's okay. Oh, I'm so glad you made it, Chris. That's great. There we go. Okay. So now we can come in with the medium mixture. And we can go ahead and fix the angle of this part of her eye here. There we go. And then over here, we just get this shape. And interesting, there's this other little tiny shape here. And see, I obliterated what I just did, but because I wasn't getting the light shape that I wanted, so we'll just reestablish it. Go back with the medium mixture. So we're just going to continue shaping things up. Go. Be careful. Make sure you don't erase when it's too wet. Oh, you got the Canson. That's the color line, right? By Canson. And the 184-pound pebble gray. Is that correct, Chris? If you did, we are in the sweet spot. So that's very exciting. What I'm going to do is, let me just get that angle correct on, we kind of are on like some sort of weird angle here. Let's see if I can fix that for my peeps here. Let's see how this works. Not bad, a little bit better. There we go. Okay. I think that's pretty good. And let's continue with this dark mixture here. And let's lower the light just a tad. There we go. Get some contrast in there. let's continue moving around. So right here we have her nostril. As you can see, I like to move around, and what that does, it keeps me from getting caught up in one area and paint the ensemble and not bits and pieces, and have a conglomeration of all the different parts, but one unified organic image. Now, some people have the light gray when it comes to Canson. That's good. I haven't used it, but I do see that it is close. I think that the pebble gray is a little darker. Remember we were talking about that absence of light, right? And different degrees of absence of light. That's the definition, or my definition, of what shadow is. We want that cheek to turn. We want the zygommatic arch or cheekbone to come in and sort of go tuck underneath some of those muscles in her face. See that? We just don't want to, hey Gary, all the way from the UK, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. I did a UK version earlier today of the live stream. It was on Facebook though, Gary. Oh, definitely, Mike. I'll definitely send you that link. It's from Dick Blick. And they're the ones I think that carry it right now. You can also get it at Hobby Lobby. A lot of Hobby Lobbies carry them. So as you can see, we're turning that form here. I'm going to come back in with some white pastel. And I think we can do that now. And I want to start turning the form. Not so much trying to get the highlights yet. Right now I just want those forms to turn, So let's make sure we do that. So has anyone seen Tone? I haven't seen Tone around lately on Facebook. I hope he's okay. Oh yes, this is the Extreme Patriot Arrow. There's a link in the description. It's my favorite airbrush in the world. I do get rid of the high roller trigger and put a regular trigger in there. I feel with this airbrush that you can get fine lines that any micron can get, and I can definitely back that up. One of the reasons why I love the airbrush is that it's a fine detailed airbrush, but it doesn't have those little tiny nozzles. It has the cone nozzle, and let's see if I have one here to show you. And it's a big difference. So here is the cone nozzle that I talked about. Let me see right here, and I'll focus it in. See that, guys? Now that's a floating nozzle. It doesn't. You don't have to screw it in. The nozzles that you have in your normal detail airbrushes are about this big. But you see how big it is, and you see how it allows better airflow through it. So this is why the Extreme Patriot Arrow has the tight detail, of your custom microns, right? But it has the stability and also the lack of a lot of clogging that, you know, your larger nozzle airbrushes have. So what I did was I went ahead and changed they have a high roller trigger. I get that out of there and I put this in there. Also, I like to have a Mac valve with it. So I put my airbrush compressor at 25 psi. So I have it at 25 psi. You're never gonna, when working with the inks or doing detail airbrushing like I do, you're never gonna need more than 25. If you do more than 25, it's gonna be a disaster. But I do this here because I can pretty much nail it in the ballpark that I want, right? So if I'm doing tight detail, I'm really up close, I know I can put my Mac valve in the ballpark. But when I need a little bit more precision, right? A little bit more precision, it has this pack valve, precision air control, and I can dial that perfectly. Someone once said, what is this for? And what this is for is to do the most incredible detailing in the world. So the pack valve, as you see, can just really knock it out of the park. Now this is an 8.5 by 11 painting on a landscape mode, right? So this is only 8.5 inches. So if you look at this portrait from chin to hairline, you're looking at 5 inches. But with the Extreme Patriot Arrow, it's no problem. So that's why. If anyone wants to know why I advocate this airbrush, is because it's dollar for dollar. It's the best airbrush in the world. And if anyone wants to go head to head with me with their favorite airbrush, let's go and do it. That's all I have to say. Let's go. I accept the challenge. I throw down the gauntlet. Because I had some people out there pretty much bash my airbrush. Now, if you're bashing my airbrush, that means that what I'm saying is not valid. So I can back up what I'm saying. That's all that's all I mean, you know. My guest says, Tim, if you have photos I send you from my side feed soap tar he built. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that was good. That was a nice build, definitely. Yes, I did see Gaston's video about putting the spring there. And that's a really cool thing. I'm okay with it. I don't have any problem with that. I think that's for people who bump into the trigger, and that happens a lot, you know. Brad has 2 of them, and he'll be getting another one soon. That's great. I love to hear that, Brad. That's fantastic. And so anyway, that's my rant on why this airbrush, to me, is the best dollar for dollar. And like I say, I don't say anything I can't back up. And I can back it up. And like I said, if dollar for dollar, anyone has something better, let's go head to head. Let's see. Let's see. I love the challenge. And I'm not saying it's like, you know, there aren't any, you know, better airbrush. There aren't other great airbrushes out there. Steve Leahy, he uses the, I believe it's the B, right? The CM, the CM-A, is that correct? And he did that with the India inks, and that's just a beautiful airbrush, Steve. So I appreciate that. That was really cool. And I love this little airbrush here for backgrounds and doing larger areas because it has a 0.5 needle nozzle combination. This is the Thayer and Chandler Vega 1000. So, you know, oh, Gary says that the Badger in the UK is 130. Harder and Steenbeck Silverline is $20 more. Wow, okay. Ardent Steenbeck's a very good brand. What separates the Extreme Patriot Arrow from the others is, I'll show you. You see that? You see how far that needle comes out and how it tapers? That's what allows you to have that detail that rivals the custom microns, you know? Oh yeah, the CMB, right? That wasn't, the CMB is the one that has the little cup on top. Yes, I love that airbrush. And it looks like you got it really humming, so that's good. Did you put another head assembly on that, Steve? Yeah, that's a great airbrush, Steve. Like I said, definitely I don't knock other airbrushes, but if someone knocks mine, I'm going to back it up. And Steve owns a Extreme Patriot Arrow. I saw his. That looked really good. I was excited to see it. Oh, you swapped it from your CMSB. And what about your CMSB? Is that right now out of commission until you get the next one? Oh, nice. That's cool. So Ken's a really great guy. So definitely. So have you used it extensively yet? You will love it. And notice how I can do these really teeny tiny hairs. Back in the day of early airbrushing, I would have relegated this to the regular paintbrush. So I want to show you guys, to get to that next level of airbrushing, right? That next level of control. It really takes, you know, working on your portraits and getting good and doing a lot of portraits and landscapes and whatnot. But this is where the rubber meets the road. This is, let me darken this up. Doing lots of these. So last night, I went ahead and I just really went and did some detail. I did a TIE fighter. Look at this, guys. This is state of the art. Look at that. See that? So, you know, it just goes to show you that, you know, we have to make sure that we are doing our tests, right? We are doing our dots, our dagger strokes. I like practicing circles because to me that's like the ultimate control. And trying to get the person. You see, you got dagger strokes going here. I like doing those squiggly lines or the springs. I started doing a X-wing, but it didn't come out well. And just playing with it, see what it takes to spider and what it takes just to get to the point before spidering. So that's, I think, is what I feel what it takes to get to that next level. And I want to get to the next level. Oh, so you think Amy's looking angry, huh? That's funny. Yeah, shit is a serious pose, isn't it, Chris? In her music, there's a lot of angst, definitely. Hey, Todd, good to see you. How are you today? Always good to see you, Todd, all the way from sunny San Diego. So we have San Diego in the house, which is nice. we're going to continue looking for little subtle absence of light. You want that flesh to turn, you know. So Brad says he used the Extreme 150 a lot, but he really loved it. Ended up framing and sending it back to Ken. He sent me back an arrow. How cool. Now, did you mean the Extreme 105? This bad boy over here? Or the Extreme 150? I don't... But this is the 105, which I really love, too. I just got this, so this is a new addition to my arsenal, and I love it, and I already use it for backgrounds, and that was really good. So when I did the background for this painting I'm currently working on, right here, I used this 150. I just put a whole bunch of ink in there, and I just went to town on the background, which was really cool and a lot of fun. So yes, so yeah, the 150 is great. It has its own merits. Dyslexia. That's pretty funny, Steve. Everyone's looking for the Extreme 150. You see, you started something, Steve. You know, I'm gonna Google the Extreme 150. Let me Google that. Oh no, I can't find the Extreme 150. See how rumors start, Steve? There's going to be a documentary about, you know, there was this airbrush back in the 70s. It was before its time. Let's see. Yeah, you know who's good at framing with wood is definitely Brad. He's incredible with that. Now, before I go in with the white pastel, I think I want to bring this dark down. I think that would be smart. Oh, you guys are great. And so let's see. So I have my medium mixture. Save the table. And that's what I always try to do. Well, I do like your little your manifestation of different airbrushes, Mike. That looked really wild. So did anyone catch Steve's live stream on Monday night at 6? He does it every Monday night at 6. That's 6 Eastern time. And it just was fantastic. The information that you get from him is unbelievable. So Steve says he's going to start a complete line, the Extreme Crescendo. The Extreme Vega 2000 and the Extreme 200. Oh my God. These are going to be classics immediately. That's funny. You guys crack me up. Yes, Mike built his, was really cool. I have to say about the 150, going back to that, that was my first airbrush. I didn't like it. And, but, you know, we always have our first experience with an airbrush. Maybe we weren't ready for it or something like that. And that was my case. I just wasn't ready for it. But yeah, the Extreme Crescendo. That sounds epic, Steve. That's for sure. How about like the extreme Neo? That's true. We will set the factory on their ears. What I want to do is I want to even out this value. So I'm going to keep a good distance, probably about 4 inches. And I'm really going to pay attention to what's happening with the value changes, because I don't want to create value changes that aren't there, right? So that's the important thing. Go. Now, when I paint, I find sometimes that on the edges, for some reason, I don't go all the way with the edges. And so now I make a conscious choice to make sure that I get tone on the edges. Wow, we got 15 watching. That's not bad for my live stream. So thank you everybody out there. You know, you don't have to comment or anything, but it doesn't mean I don't appreciate yous. I really, really do. Thanks for hanging out with me on this Wednesday evening. I can't see you, but you can see me. And I'm giving you guys a thumbs up. There you go. And, you know, if I can give you guys a thumbs up, I would. You know, 2 thumbs up for you guys. Chris says he has about 12 crescendos. Really? What are you doing with all those crescendos, Chris? Crescendos. Crescendo rowers. Crescendi, right? What's the plural for crescendo? That's funny. I'm really loving Thayer and Chandler, right? They're made by Badger, but I'm really having a good time. And so this is going to be an incredible Extreme Vega 1000 body art. How cool is that, Chris? That is amazing. What do you think of that show that came out a while back ago where they had body painters? Do you know about that? Did you try out for that? What do you think of that? Because that was a pretty cool show, and I want to watch more of it. If anyone wants to see his Sotar live side feed, he posted it on Orange Airbrush Forum. Nice. Send me an email right now, and what I'll do is I'll quickly, if you can, Mike, send me the email, that picture again, and I'll go ahead and I'll show everybody tonight. So right now I also am seeing there's these little areas of light from the hair. I'm not going to go crazy, I'm just going to indicate them because they're very soft detail, like I said. I don't go crazy with very soft details in the shadow, but I want to indicate them and I want to keep it soft. And just these little things right here will go a long way to describing what's happening with her, you know, in the 3-dimensional space. So Chris says he watched it some, good body artists, but many had no idea what they were doing. I found they had no idea they were doing with the airbrush, right? And they were using like eclipses, I believe. Okay, cool. So Mike's gonna do that. He's gonna email me. I'm gonna put it on the computer and I'm able to show you guys here on the live stream. So that's cool. Yeah, I love to see stuff like that, guys, you know, little inventions that we do. And, you know, I like to support what you guys do, too. So I love my peeps. So I do anything I can to support your projects and your artwork and all of that stuff as well. So I think I need a little bit of a wider eraser. And let's see if we can do that with the kneaded eraser. Just get a little wider area right here. And we gotta sort of look and triangulate where it is. And so I'm saying that it's just above the lip there. And also looking at the picture, we're looking at about 7 o'clock. So right here, we just want to make sure that we get the placement correct. And we're always drawing and always refining and everything like that. Oh, Steve says that the crescendos need to be extreme crescendos. Too funny. Well, I would love to get the Extreme Patriot Arrow Deluxe. And you know what Deluxe is, right? It comes with lettuce and tomato. And yeah, that was funny only to me, I think. That's because I was a waiter, you know. If they wanted the cheeseburger deluxe, it came with lettuce and tomato, you know. So I went in with the medium mixture. Oh, look at that, I'm out. I was painting earlier today, so I had medium mixture from my painting about 7 o'clock. So, oh nice, write it in with a Sharpie. Just gonna load just a little bit of the medium mixture. I'm gonna go with the dark mixture pretty soon anyway. Okay, so we were just reiterating this dark here. And just want to continue shaping this sort of quiet light area. Now I'm in the medium mixture, so it keeps me from going too dark. So that's why I don't go in the dark mixture just yet. And yes, I'm tempted to go in with the dark mixture, but the thing is, if you go dark too early, you have nowhere to go and you're not building up the subtleties of form. And that's what it's all about, building up the subtleties. Okay, cool. So I do see the Sotar side feed, and give me one moment, and I'm just going to download that for you guys. There it is. And there's several photos. Okay, I'm going to show what I think is the best photo right here. Let me download that. Watch how fast with these programs I can do this stuff. It's actually pretty cool, guys. Let's see. So go back to YouTube. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a source. And we're going to go to Images, Downloads. Okay, great. So this is the actual Mike S's Sotar. Looks like it has a, now okay, so I want you to describe what are the parts of this airbrush. And I think it's quite fascinating. So love to hear what you say about this, Mike. I do see the Sotar back, right here. You see the back of the Sotar, which is pretty cool. And this looks like a 100, if I'm not mistaken. You guys, this looks like the 100 cup here. So, and then with the side feed, and then it looks like the, so, but I have to hear what Mike S has to say. It looks really cool. What do you guys think about it? Let's put this over here. And until Mike gets back and talk about it, I'm going to go ahead and continue with the hair here. want to do is describe this form here. Oh, we put the handle, the body is a 100, and the internal rebuild kit. Look at that, very cool. And of course the Sotar back and the Sotar needle, is that correct? It looks like? And what about the head assembly? I know that's not a 100 head assembly, is that? It doesn't look like it to me. And I have my medium mixture in right now. And see how the shoulder turns down. Same thing here. And of course we have a turning of the shoulder on this side, and let's work on that. And I kind of like the way the dreamy feeling of the forms are starting to look here. And now I'm just going to pull in her shoulder. I'm going to work on this soft edge first. And then we're going to increase the distance of the airbrush. Let the airbrush do the work. Do not go ahead and think you're going to push back less or anything like that. I want you to just start moving the airbrush slowly away from the surface, and that's how you're going to get a gradation. Airbrush artists are different than artists who use the airbrush. And over the years, using the airbrush, you become an airbrush artist, meaning that you start knowing how to utilize and exploit, for lack of a better term, the actual principles of the airbrush itself. So that's really cool. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Thank you so much for showing us that. That's really exciting, and it's so happy to see that. And how does it shoot? It must really work very well as far as detail and everything like that. Well, that's the good thing. The Extreme Patriot Arrow has a high roller trigger, but here's a really good tip, and I'm going to show you guys. You don't have to buy an airbrush with a high roller trigger. So here we are. We're at USAAirBrushSupply.com, and we can go to shop, and let's go down to airbrush parts, and where are parts? Let's see, air sources, adapters, templates. I'm just going to go to view all, and then from there I can go. So hit view all, that's always the best way. And here you go, right in the front page after you hit view all. It's only $7.77, and you can purchase that high roller trigger, and that fits right in your airbrush. So, you know, take the needle out, take out your regular trigger and put that high roller trigger in, Gary, and 1, 2, 3. You'll be able to test it out for only $7. It's not too bad, right? So I'm going to get a sip of water. We're finished with the first hour, which is great. That was good. So nice tight detail with that airbrush. Fantastic. So Chris is jealous. I mean, Steve is jealous because Oh, he'll be at Nubs. Oh, cool. So you guys are both Boston guys. So that's that's definitely cool. I love Boston. One of my favorite cities in the world. And I'm not just saying that because you guys are here. That's for sure. Hey, what's up there, Bill? Good to see you. How are you, sir? And what we're gonna do is we are just gonna continue darkening this area and really get a feeling of, light not getting in here, but still light bouncing on from reflection. Very cool. Now, same thing. So it's always important to really pay attention to your reference. And you know what? Gradually get to the value you need to. I know a lot of students, they go too light in the beginning, and I tell them, that's a good thing that you're going too light, because you go too dark, you have nowhere to go. You're going too light, easy to fix. Oh, right, Bronx, very cool. So tell me, what high school did you go to, Chris? Did you go to high school in the Bronx? I went to the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan. I don't know if we talked about that before. I know there was another gentleman from New York who currently resides in Puerto Rico. So Chris, eres Boricua? New York Military Academy, very, very cool. Oh, okay, I'll post it again. I got no problem. It's so good, I'll post it twice. All right, que bueno, huepa, amigo mío. So I am the most Puerto Rican white guy you're ever gonna meet there, Chris. I'll tell you, I know all about it. Empanadas, pollo guisado, right? Some real... And so Tio Puente, believe me, I am how about some coquille, man, for Christmas? So believe me, like I am the most Puerto Rican white guy in the history of the planet. So this is, Chris says he's so white he grows clothes. That's hilarious. And so this is, my guess is Airbrush. It's really cool. Look at that, the 100. Sotar needles, Sotar backing. So pretty neat. So you're a Caucasian Puerto Rican, and I'm a Puerto Rican Caucasian. We're a good mix there, my friend. All right, so let's go ahead. So it's so cool, isn't it there, Bill? I love this airbrush. That's funny, guys. And what we're going to do is we're just going to continue darkening this down here on her shoulder. I have the light mixture currently because I just want to gradually darken that down. So growing up in New York, I was exposed to a lot of Latin culture in high school, and junior high school, and so I just took to it. I love Latin culture, and I'll tell you, it just is, fell in love with the music, fell in love with the women, and I'll tell you, it just, yeah, that's all I have to say about that, without incriminating myself. W. Lane Honestry says that he's an Irish-German Jew with a pile of Native American. That's very nice. I like that. That's so cool. Yeah, that's a lot of heritage, so I love that, Bill. The the fantastic Native American culture is just so rich. Now, with a name like Leahy, you can't escape it. You're Irish like me, my friend. And my guess says he's an old white guy, nothing special. I don't say anything. That's definitely nothing. That definitely is very special. So don't say that, my friend. Ask Steve how many cheers come out. Oh, so Chris, you make your own coquito. That stuff is fantastic. That's and then of course. So, what about pasteles? Do you purchase your pasteles during the holidays? I do, because there's no way I'm gonna make pasteles. They're just too hard to make. But I love my pasteles. I have a neighbor downstairs, Gloria, who sometimes comes to the live stream. She makes, no, she gets them from the Bronx. She has a connection in the Bronx. And then she shares them with me every year. So you make them your own? Wow, that's impressive. Now, that's just like amazing how, making pasteles by hand. Well, now there's food processors, so it makes it easier. But yeah, it was a whole family thing, right? Back in the day. And let's see. Bill says German told me to get in there. Jew said I've seen this before. Native said don't trust. Oh boy, and the Irish guy just won. Oh my goodness, that's funny. Assembly line, yes, making those pasteles, right, with the grape leaves and everything like that. Wow. So what city is your family from? We had a gentleman last week, he was from Ponce. They have a great art museum in Ponce. Oh, Irish and Italian, so Sliver is doomed. It's so cool. The Irish and Italian, that's one of the biggest mixes ever, mixing up those two. Because the Irish and Italian came to Boston and New York at the same time. We were sharing the same neighborhoods, fighting for the same jobs, and then, going to the same schools, and that's how a lot of that happened, Cabo Rojo, oh great, so cool. Is that inland, like down by, Cabo, would that be inland down by like Rio Piedras or by the, El Yunque? Or would that be closer to the beaches? And as you can see, we are just slowly getting to the point where I'm happy. Hey, hook me up, bro. That's what I'm talking about. You have connections. Some of that coquille, man, that would be amazing. That coquito, I should say, not the coquille. Coquille is a little frog. Oh, a beach town. Oh, how cool is that? That's exciting. So have you gone back recently there, Chris? Good distance away, about 3 inches. Now, Chris, where are you right now? You're in the Bronx, or okay? Yeah, I'm not that far. I'm over there in Little Ferry, New Jersey. right across the bridge. Actually, real close from you if you're still in the Bronx. Because you know the George Washington Bridge is about maybe 10 minutes from my house, right off of 46, and I know that you can get off of the George Washington Bridge and be right in the Bronx. So during the holidays, I gotta buy some coquito from you, man. I always buy it because I can't make it. That's funny, guys. Oh, you're in Putnam County, Dutchess borderline. Okay, I don't. Okay, cool. That's not too far, right? There we go. And so you see I'll move around. I don't want to stick in one area too long. Where I'm going to crop her is I'm probably going to crop this painting, I would say, probably around here. Let's see, probably right here. I'm going to crop it. Let me see, right about there. And so you get a nice sense of the turning, you get a nice sense of the light, and then we're going to come in and, you know, get more refined with the shapes. But right now my goal is to make things start turning in and out. Oh, you're a New York City officer. That's so great. Oh, fantastic. Thank you for your service, my friend. Oh, that's great. That's so cool, Chris. Definitely, we definitely gotta get together, my friend. And as you can see right now, I think I'm almost ready to come in with some white pastel. This is always a treat because now I'm a pastel painter primarily. You know, I studied pastel at the National Academy School of Fine Arts. So, and I've been doing that for like almost 30 years. And it definitely is. It's always tough out there. And I always admire the men and women in blue. So thank you so much for, you know, helping us out and everything. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to start with the sandpaper, and I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit on a paper stump, right? That's right, mess with Steve. So now my goal is not to just like go ahead and do a highlight. I'm gonna rub in this white into the ink, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to turn the light. Now, one of the things is that yes, we're turning the form, right? But also we are smoothing out some of the roughness of the airbrush and really giving it a really nice look, you know, which is really great. And so I'm going to stick with the side form here, the side plane, and what I want to do is just really make this turn. So it's so cool, you know, it's so cool that we have Steve and Chris, and I know I see Chris at Steve's live streams on Mondays, which is really cool. So let's continue sort of turning those forms towards the light. And you know, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where things really start cooking with gas, right? And then, you know, the elusive lightness that's been bothering you the whole painting will start coming together I would say the last maybe 2 hours of the painting. So don't fret, you know, don't worry if it's not looking like her just yet. That kind of rhymes. So that's okay. And we'll come over here. There we go. So, Mr. Leahy, when is Marge's live stream gonna happen? I know there's talk of her doing live streams soon. Looking forward to that. Now look, I went overzealous with the white. Now if that does happen, I can always just tap it, just like that. Which is really great. I do miss New York a lot, you know, going to the Met, Chris, and everything like that. You know, Metropolitan Museum of Art. I think it's still closed in the Frick collection, and plus, you know, it just is rough now. You know, the city, you know, with the COVID-19 and everything. So I hope things go back to normal, right? And I'm sure you feel the same way, sir. You can just tap it with the kneaded eraser, the white, and it's almost like you're sort of not erasing but lowering the volume of that white, which is really cool. Really is cool. So I can't wait for the extreme crescendo. That thing is that's gonna be epic there, Chris. We gotta have Steve put his John Hancock on that. You have to endorse it, Steve. That's all there's to it. Yeah, you know, it is, right? You know, I used to go to the Met all the time. I'm a member of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and it just really pains me not to be able to go there, you know? So I really hope that, I guess the only way it's going to really go back to normal if a vaccine is actually created that works. That's the only way. See how we're starting to turn, and we're starting to now those of you who are new to my live streams out there, this is not like, you know, the instant payoff live stream. This is, you know, just slow how I develop a painting in real time, and it's really good because as I'm working you can ask questions and you can just see how a painting develops from start to finish. Right here it's kind of rough here. I don't want to change the value too much, so I'm just going to get rid of a lot of the white that's on here. And what I can do is I can just put light pressure here, right? And I can smooth out this value. That could be caused by overspray or the erasing of the paper. So, you know, there are ways to, you know, smooth things out. Create hard edges and soft edges with the white pastel. Slow and steady does win the race. That is so true, Brad. So I've been doing these live streams now for over 3 years, and it's really fantastic. Just fantastic. I get to meet so many cool people. And some of you have been with me for 3 years, and people who are new, that's fantastic. I love to see you all as well. What's in my glove? Just my hand, and this is a paper stump or tortilla, you know. Good question though, because you know, it's one of these gloves that you can get. You can get them online. They're real inexpensive, like digital art gloves. I got mine with my Huion tablet. So, Brad, did you get your tablet yet? I think I would have heard from you if you got your tablet. Brad ordered the Huion tablet, which is really exciting. Steve says absolutely. This is a remodeling, the remodeling the house, and oh, so Marge is remodeling the house. Okay, once things are put back together, she will fire them up. That's fantastic. And will you be monitoring them, sir? That would be cool. You'll be monitoring, make sure you have that, is it called IPO beer, or is it IPO? Forgive me for my ignorance on that. Oh, cool, by Friday. That's great. So, watch how paying attention to the lights within the value shapes. Remember, first you put in the value shape, and then you do the edges, and then you do the shapes within the values. And remember, pressure, just like the airbrush, the more pressure you put in with the pastel, the deeper the application, and the lighter is the softer application. So that's important. So Gloria is Boricana, who comes to the live stream. She's my neighbor and good friend. Very cool. Like I said, I've been around Puerto Ricans a lot longer than I've been around other people, except I've been around Irish people because I'm Irish. Okay, so you see how we definitely can work on this area, which is very important for her likeness, and we'll continue with that. Like, it doesn't have to happen right away. Once I start coming in with the highlights, then things will get interesting. But what I'm doing is I'm just doing the lightening of the forms, and even smoothing it out with the white pastel. The shadow on top of your hand was playing. Oh, I see. Definitely, that's easy, especially from the from this aerial view that you guys are seeing everything. Todd, it's a complex area, and if you look at it, this forehead area, and say, "Oh my God, it's Heinz 57," which is great. That means you have a richness there, Wendy. So that's fantastic. But what I'm going to do is I am going to try and see where the light is sort of, the objects are facing the light. Right here, this is facing the light and then turns away here. And then it's light facing here. And then I'm going to come in with the white mixture, with the light mixture, with the airbrush. And we can see that it just slightly turns darker right there. And then it turns into the light again, right here. So it's like we're painting little objects inside the painting, right? So it's really cool. You're like a suicide drink, like a Long Island iced tea, that sort of thing. Now, Long Island iced teas, they should be outlawed. Those things are horrible. Only because it's fun to see someone get totally, you know what, faced. But yeah, they don't take prisoners, Long Island iced teas. I had one on my 21st birthday, and boy, I was singing after that. Sonic Slushy, oh my goodness. Is that like Sonic, the that hot dog place? So you see, once I start realizing that it's form turning and, turning towards the light and then away from the light and towards the light and one form after the other, it gets a lot easier to depict. I have a pleasure to talk to Ken every now and then. We talk about airbrushes and stuff like that. He's a really good friend, and but I gotta tell him about the extreme crescendo. You guys, I think he's gonna crack up. That's the funniest thing I heard. Not to mention the extreme 150. I'm not gonna let that go, Steve. Don't think I'm not. Oh, now they have more flavors would probably taste horrible. Oh, I see. But they are good with those flavors mixed. See that? Mix of orange, lime, cherry, and grape. Sounds like, when people mix different cereals together, like Fruit Loops and Captain Crunch and Count Chocula. And then you get this, like, sort of cocktail of sugar. Boy, don't I make it sound appetizing. But as a kid, I would have loved it. So we're gonna do this one more week, right? I think this is definitely not gonna end this week, but one more week. Now, what I'm gonna do is just smooth out some of this area here. We'll come back in with the airbrush, but what we can do is start smoothing out some of these areas that are a little crazy. And also remember, value in form a lot of times is described by its adjacent value or form. So a lot of times, we see a nostril, we wanna delineate that nostril, but we don't have to. The values around it, the shapes around it will describe that form. And you see, you have to take your time, and you have to observe, and you have to see where are the forms changing direction towards the light. And that's going to help you. That's going to help the whole thing come together. So right now I can see that I put too much light here on her nose, and that sort of, if I put too much light there, it's going to go against the actual three-dimensional form, Wendy mixed her slushy at 7-Eleven. Oh my God, that would be some big gulp, I'll tell you, that's for sure. Okay, so now let's go ahead. If Steve Johnson, are you out there? This is Steve Johnson's favorite part, and he loves it when, a lot of people love it when I come in with the white pastel. And let's just, why not? Let's do a little bit of it, So I get a more pointy stump here. And this is the fun part. We're in week 4. Usually this happens in week 5. And I have my reference, the same size. Okay, so just like that. Really enjoy this stage because it just, you're patient, right? The technique it calls for patience. Steve, there you are. You're here. All right. So cool. Thank you, Steve, for always enjoying this part. And you know, light sometimes bounces. It doesn't hit one area, so there's going to be spaces in between, and the spaces in between are really important. They don't really carry right now, but it will once we zoom out. You see we have some lights here. Just like that. And now we can go ahead and pull in this area. Down. Now what's really cool about this technique, guys, is that you know, you can put too much, no problem. You just take your kneaded eraser and you just tap it. Now this is all my experience in pastel coming to light here. So, you know, with all those years of pastel, I know how to manipulate it and know how to make it part of this technique. And so let's see if we zoom out what we got. See that now we have a little more power in her face, and I'm just going to blend this a little bit. There we go. And also right here we're going to blend a little bit. It's a little harsh, but right there you can see that eye really starts to come together. You know, I have in here, in my bag of tricks, I have a little pink colored pencil. And you know what I say? Why not? We'll put that in there. Put just a little bit of pink, fleshy color. Let's put that there. Okay, so now, because why go and go into all that trouble of mixing the airbrush color for that little area? That's almost counterproductive. And oh, Steve says it's the best part. Steve Leahy, Steve Johnson says the icing on the cake. Chris says, are you using pastel powder or pastel cake cube? Actually, I just use this right here, Chris, which is the Faber-Castell's Pit Pastel Medium White Pastel, and I just you know, put it on the sandpaper medium grit, and then just pull it off with the stumps, and it works really well, you know, and it's very similar to my technique of working in pastel, you know, with my pastel paintings, and that's something I'm going to be getting into more. Not so much with YouTube presents, but just doing more on my own in pastel, my personal work. Now let's see if we could, okay, let's make this other piece of great equipment here that I have. And before I mention its name, I gotta make sure I can locate it. Fons and Porter, here it is. Fons and Porter, hard to get now. I think it's on back order. And actually, no, with the lips, I actually went ahead and did airbrush with that, with the India inks, the P.H. Martin. But I'm going to come in with the white with the Fons and Porter, I think. Let's see how that works out, you know. No hot peppers. So let's see. Okay. I think I'm going to need my glasses for this, because this is, like I said, this is a 5-inch head, And so it's pretty intense doing the detail. So there we go. And what I want to do is just important to get the negative space when you're doing something like this. Steve was saying when he was doing those shingles on his Monday night live stream, how he actually had to do the lips, but he learned, I mean the shingles, but he learned from his dad that you have to realize that they have they're going in a certain shape and they have certain characteristics, and it's important, am I right, Steve? It's important to have that sort of structure that really makes it come together. We'll see how this goes. Sometimes I have to do it over. And that seems a little strong, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap on it a little bit just to calm down certain areas, and I'll continue with that. You know, I don't always get it right away. It takes a couple of moments here and there to go back in. I might come back in with the airbrush and get some darker striations or wrinkles in there. But yeah, it's not going to be done right away. I'll reassess. But I do see at the edge here, the light seems to just sort of catch this side part of the lip here. I want to indicate that. And also what I can do with the light mixture, come over here and just get that ever slight turn of form right there. And always stick with that 1 second rule. The 1 second rule is going to save you, you know, because if you look for a second and paint for a second, you're not putting in anything that's not there. And then, you know, if you need to refine, you can come back, no problem. And then here is looking at her chin. We have a soft sort of glow here. We want to get that. And then we can come in with the white pastel, and you see, it's like with your tools, you want to go boom, boom, boom. You know, you want to move from one tool to the next and sort of be very fluent throughout them. And that helps you to think quickly and also helps you to make decisions while you see them. A lot of times if you don't make the decision right away, you kind of lose that train of thought. And just having that sort of fluency with your, you know, with your tools, it just makes your life easier and makes things go a little bit smoother. You sort of get in that zone. I really feel that way. Okay, so now I do see a couple of more little dots of light there. We'll just put them in. And so now I do see it start to turn, right? Her lips start to turn, and I think that was something that was troubling me from the start. And now I can sort of turn those lips just a little bit into the darkness. There we go. And I like that. And that's, like I say, the likeness will reveal itself eventually. You don't have to force it. Just stick with the program, work hard, it'll work out. Trust me. Yeah, I put a lot of pastel in there on purpose so I can show you that we can just tap that out, leave whatever pastel we want in there. Take a stump that is not really, doesn't have a lot of pastel on there, and then you can just slowly blend that out, just like so. And so that's how, the likeness starts to come. And let's see where else we can move with this white. Okay, look at that little tip of the nose there. A cute nose. Let's go ahead and start to put in some highlights on her nose. Now her nose on the tip here is probably the most light facing of her whole portrait. So that's going to have a blast of light. But like snow that sort of builds up in a snowdrift, it's always, tallest at the peak and then slowly dissipates. That's how the that's how it works with light. It usually builds up in one area in a highlight and then sort of falls into the form. And that's what we're doing. We're pretending we're rubbing our fingers across the form, and just feeling it turn. And as it turns and it goes towards the light, that's when we're putting more white in there. And when it turns away from the light, that's when the shadow or relative absence of light appears. And you see we're making that nose turn, and look, Amy's starting to appear. Took a while, but I really feel Amy starting to appear. And it feels good, Now you guys got very quiet, so it's one of three things. The chat part is not working. That's number one. Number two, you got so bored you left. Number three, you desperately want to say something, but you're trapped under something heavy. Or you're just really engrossed in this technique. See that little area here, right in the Cupid's bow? Not up here, just right here. It's just a little bit of white there. And hi, Amy, there you are. Look, Amy's starting to come together. And I do enjoy this part. So yeah, I think we're just going to finish up next week, It's just going to be, thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate it. Wow, thanks, Steve Johnson and Steve Leahy. I appreciate that so much. Oh, Wendy's trapped under something heavy. I told you to stop trying to tilt those heavy appliances. Oh, Chris is here. Very cool. Okay. And, I'm just really enjoying making things turn. Now, I think what we're going to work on next week is definitely work on her shoulders and neck area. But right now I'm seeing that this part of her fulcrum is right under the nostril, is facing the light a little bit more, right? Because if it's facing the light, we're going to get more white. Those are like my Timisms. I should write them down. It's going to be a book one day of all my famous sayings from these live streams. Oh, you love lifting them. Yeah, it is addictive, right, Wendy? Thanks, Chris. Chris is watching slowly. I appreciate it. Just like in the book. Yes, exactly. Exactly. I was going over a certain chapter with my student, Brad, and we were going over this particular chapter. And remember, it's always important to review and go over the fundamentals. That's why I think teaching is great, because of the fundamentals. But I want you also to see how we broke down something that is really quite intimidating, all the turning of her features, right? Turning towards the light and away from the light. But if we break it down and try and understand it, then it's not so scary. And then we could be like, okay, so this is going towards the light, this is going away from the light. That makes sense, and that helps. So definitely remember, as things are going towards the light, they get lighter. As things are turning away from the light, they get darker. And it's gradual depending on how round it is. Now right here, we're not just painting the head, right? But we're painting the head and what is something called stacked form. Stacked form is when you have smaller forms on top of larger forms. So I'll give you an example. We have the skull, and so we have the forehead. But we have other forms on top of the forehead, such as this muscle right here, and how the muscle turns, and it turns away from the light, and that's stacked form. And once we see it as stacked form, then we can say, all right, so this little indentation here is a muscle, and that muscle is just as much a three-dimensional object as the Empire State Building. And it's being affected by light and shadow, transition tones, reflected light, just as the Empire State Building is. So then you can look and find the complexity of that muscle, that stacked form on top of the forehead. And Wendy says she loves the light. It makes it look 3D. It does, and that's important to realize that, it's not as mysterious. When you look at a painting, and I do it sometimes, and you look at someone's painting, and you just see how all these little forms have lights and darks, and you're like, oh my God, you get weak in the knees. It's just so darn good, right? And I think that's great, and we sort of get awestruck. But really, they're just doing very logical things in their paintings, and it's nothing that you can't do and master quite easily. Once you realize that there are separate forms on top of other forms, then you just have the job of making this form three-dimensional. And then you'll see that you have one form stacked on another form, which is the bridge in the nose. And you see how all of a sudden it gets white here? Like you have the normal progression of light and dark, and then all of a sudden there's this blast of light right here. What that is that's one form next to another, and now that process begins again of that form needing to conform with the rules of light and shade. And it's really it looks hard, but that's what I want us to do, is to find the forms within the forms. And then next week what we'll do is we'll talk about how the stack forms actually have to follow the rules of the larger forms, and how it controls the larger forms control the stack forms values. And we'll go over that next week. That's going to be a lot of fun, and I think that's going to be a good lesson well finishing up this painting. So yeah, when I go ahead and I go over the fundamentals again of light, it really just always puts a shot in my arm into work, right? It always gives me this boost of observational energy, and I just recommend that for you guys and girls. Oh, here's a couple of nice little highlights here. Here's another good tidbit of information. And I think I said this earlier, wherever the values are the same in the forms of a larger form, usually is because they're facing the light at the same angle. Think about that. If the values are the same in this part of the nose as they are, let's say, in this part of the bridge of the nose, this part of the nostril and this part of the bridge of the nose, and this part of the cheekbone, is because they're all facing the light at the same angle. So they have the same value. And Rome wasn't built in a day. Don't try and get it all the way. We're not those speed painters. Although some speed paintings are really good. I'm actually doing a speed painting of a portrait commission for the client. But it doesn't have to, you don't have to do it all at once, right? So don't get caught up in, oh my God, I have to finish this area. No, move around. It's okay. It just, right now, it's a little more fun because we are, starting to really get to the turning of the forms where things are really starting to come together. It's like when you see the finish line, right? And you just want to, do that little blast of energy, but you have to realize that you have to slow it down. You still got to get there, and if you go too fast, you're gonna run out of gas. Bill says, like him, he paints fast because it won't get any better no matter what. That's not true, my friend. I think we're all growing as artists, right? And and I think that's we're all on the path. You're on the path. I'm on the path. Everyone here is on the path, and nobody can ever criticize effort. So if we're giving 110%, no one can criticize that, and that's what I want to do. I want to train like Rocky with my art. I want to do those dagger strokes and everything. So Bill says, sorry, he's listening and painting at the same time. Had to look back over a bit. Just starting on Tony D's Rusty. Oh, wow, cool. Very cool. It's always good to have commissions, that's for sure. It's so important. Got to put food on the table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to scan where some of those blasts of light are. Right here is a blast of light. Now I can go ahead and I can actually deposit some light here on her cheekbone, because right here we're getting a lot of light here, because this is like really just front facing the light source, and it comes down. Oh, it's not a commission. Cool. Personal piece. Oh, painting to show the process. Oh, great. Very cool. Wow, 4 commissions, that's rough, that's not easy. So you see, I put that in there, and now what I can do is I can just start to tap some of that in. Notice that it dissipates as I move out, so I can actually rub that into the surface a little more. And then I want to make that turn, so I can use my heat eraser and tap that. It's just I have to get that turn, right? That's what's the important thing. I have to make sure I make that turn. You know, with all these, you remember I did several celebrity portraits. I always would dream of, you know, one day we're doing a live stream of a celebrity portrait, and then that celebrity be like, hey, it's me, I just want to say that's just, you know, wonderful, I love it, thank you so much, you know. Wouldn't that be cool, guys? I know, in a perfect world. Steve says, I do a great job. Thank you, my friend. He loves the way I work a painting. It's really a joy to watch. It's a joy to have you here, Steve. Thank you, and that's an honor. And thank you for that. It really is amazing that when we try and understand what light is happening, what light is doing, then all of a sudden, like, a person appears, right? That's pretty cool. And we have to get out of our own way when we paint. I have to get out of my own way, you know, and just really just relax and observe. Remember, you have that form of the bottom part of her eye, and it comes down, and this is a form, but then when that form ends, a new form begins, and it's the cheek. So you see why it's lighter over here? It's the beginning of the new form, the next form. And so that's what we are looking at. And then you say, okay, what's that form doing? You know? Where is it turning? Is it really round? Is it flat? And then here's another form right here. And then you see that, you know, she is really starting to turn. She's an avatar. I was saying that in my earlier live stream today. Aren't we all just avatars? If you think about it, you go outside. What is outside? You know, light, and people see us. The outside really has nothing to do with the inside. It's just an avatar that we all live. This is Amy Lynn's avatar. This is a time when maybe you don't want to, oh, the normal, thank you guys, I appreciate that. And Gary, so Gary said, oh, night Wendy, take care. Gary says, Tim, do you always paint your paper flat on the table? Only since doing live streams do I work flat on the table. But now when I do my India ink paintings like this, always work flat. So it sort of happened out of a need. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that. Thank you, Steve Johnson. And Steve says he needs to get his avatar dry cleaned. I need to I need a new programmer for my avatar. You know, maybe I could. Sometimes you want to start from, you know, not start from scratch, but, you know, change it up. I want to change up my avatar. But yeah, so what's inside is important, but you see, it's just the outside world that we paint. How light bounces off of one area. Here's another form, right? So we have stacked forms. We have the head, right? And then right over here, we have this form, right? So the lips go into the cheek, and then the cheek sort of folds out, creating another form. So right here is a form. So let's make this turn by paying attention to what part is facing the light, right? And wow, look at that, guys. It's fun when you see it at this point. But when I'm just gonna look and say, okay, where's that light facing? Holy cow, look at that. I'm just gonna really look at it as something that's facing the light. And then over here, you can see how that form goes right and buttresses against another form. And then you have this light shadow. So I'm going to take my light mixture and we're going to make this turn. I'm going to be really far away because I want to be super subtle with the value here. And you see how I can make this turn? And then I could pull this up here. And then we have another form right here where that ends. And a new one begins. There we go. Oh, thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. Oh, wow. That's so cool. And thank you so much there, Todd. Always great to see you. Have a great night. And Mike, thank you so much. She looks great, but pissed off. Yeah, you know, Amy has a lot of angst. I love her music. And it's so universal. We all go through the stuff that Amy goes through. And she just says it so well with that beautiful voice and her band Evanescence. So I do have some work to do. Make some of this more subtle as she turns there. And maybe I'll soften up some of these frown lines here when we come back. And maybe make her just a little less angry looking. And we can do that. We can soften that up a little bit. And so, yeah, it's fun. Dylan, how you doing? How's everything going? So your first portrait using the ink and it's coming along great. Thank you, sir. You have any questions, you let me know, Dylan, because I really am very touched you purchased my inks and everyone else who purchased them. You guys are not out there alone. I'm definitely here to help you. So, Steve, thank you so much. Have a great night, and thank you for hanging out with me. And, oh, you always make me proud there, Todd. You're doing great. And I know the pencil work we did was fantastic. Raul, thank you. And so that's so cool, Dylan. And look at us now. We're at 11:30. We did it. Another Wednesday in the books. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great night. And thank you for the encouragement and hanging out with me. Part 5 and finishing up is next week. We're going to work out this area. So exciting stuff. Feel free to ask any questions and purchase my inks if you get a chance because you're going to love them. Thank you.